y'all, Chrisio here from Chrisio's Clucky Chronicles. I got my hat on. Everything's getting rainy, wet, soaking, yucky, muddy today. We've already went out and fed the babies this morning, so there's not really a whole lot else that we can do out here on the yard. They're just going to walk around in the rain, whatever they feel like they want to do. Now we do have the barn doors closed because even with all of the shelter space and all the stuff that we've got, you know, put up, they have plenty of places for them to go get dry, okay? So anyway, join me, subscribe, like, watch. It's going to be a really weird rainy day. Let's do it. So with it raining as bad as it is right now, I started a new playlist the other day. Recipes, cooking, that kind of thing, because I am a southern cook. I do like to cook. Nana Roo likes for me to cook too, but anyway, I don't give him table scraps. I don't even know what he's yapping about. Let's go inside and let's work on one of my favorite childhood recipes, okay? Yeah, let's get out of the rain. Let's do something inside where we're not getting rained on or cold or muddy. Right, let's do it. Alright, now that we are out of the wet coat and stuff, let's talk about cooking one of my very favorite recipes. It's actually on the website. You can go check that out at chrisioshow.com. When I was little, and I stayed a lot with my Granny Lorraine and Pa Arthur, they were tenant farmers and mostly produce. You know, it's what they had, vegetables and fruits and different types of things that they had. And sometimes they would have roadside sales because they lived on a pretty, at the time, was a main road going into town there. And people would stop. They would see Papa signs out there and they would stop. They would get some blueberries. They would get a few things. They didn't have a whole lot of sales or a whole lot of big produce production going on like a big full out fruit stand, but they had enough to where that if they needed to supplement they could. And Granny Lorraine was probably one of the best cooks, so Eastern North Carolina and Southern cooks. I know everybody's got a granny that they've had great cooks. I had two grannies that were great cooks, but Granny Lorraine was probably, out of all the cooks, to me, she was the best. Not knocking my other granny, she was a really good cook too. But Granny Lorraine could really do a lot of fancy cooking, as we called it, just a lot of stuff. So one of the things that they had access to was a sweet potato field, which was next door. Now you guys know what a sweet potato is. Everybody knows what a sweet potato is. If you don't, go look it up. You know, there you go. So we would have snacks and stuff, especially during the fall and during the winter, because sweet potatoes were abundant. We could get plenty of it. There's hundreds of millions of ways to cook sweet potatoes. I'm going to show you how she taught me how to cook these sweet potatoes. So that's what we're going to work on today. And hopefully you'll be able to try it and you'll like it for your family. Now it is a thicker sweet potato bread. It is thicker than and real dense, because one of the reasons why they did what they did back then with sweet potatoes and flour and eggs and sugar and all that, cinnamon and that kind of thing, is they needed something for sustenance. Things back in the 70s, that my time frame. I was born in the very early 70s. I'm 50 years old, so there you go, that tells you anything. So the 70s and the 80s, and it was hard times in just about every decade, and just about every generation had some sort of hard times with food, even before the 70s and 80s and all that. And they had to have a way that they could feed everybody something kind of sweet when you couldn't afford to buy cakes and things like that. Granny Lorraine was real inventive. She made a lot of stuff, and she made stuff last. So let's do some step-by-step stuff here. Let me show you how she made what she called sweet tater bread. So let's go ahead and get into it, and we'll talk about it, and then you guys can copy the recipe on the website and have at it. Here we go. Now, I've already cooked these sweet potatoes, and one of the reasons why she did this, see how they leak out. Sweet potatoes are very sweet. They're very sticky sweet. So she would wrap the sweet potatoes in foil here. You don't put nothing on them. Just wash your taters real good, wrap them, and then you want to bake them until they're soft. Like, see how soft that is? You want them to be soft. Now, you gotta let them cool completely. Don't matter how long it is. Let them cool completely, otherwise you're gonna burn the mess out of your hand, your fingers, and all that stuff. You don't want to do that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these sweet potatoes. We're gonna unwrap them, and then I'm gonna tell you the ingredients. We're gonna show you what we do and how we put it together. All right, here we go. All right, so they stick together. Sweet potatoes have their own natural syrup, almost, you know. See how thick and sticky that is? And again, the only thing you want to do is wash these sweet potatoes real good, right? Wash them real good. Just put them in the foil. They're going to come out soft, and they're going to come out wrinkly. Now, what I'm going to do with these skins is I'm going to peel them, set them to the side. Look how easy that comes off right there. You just peel them like that. All that skin comes off. I'm going to give these to my chickens and my ducks and my quails later because it's good for them. It ain't going to hurt them, not one bit. So we're going to peel all this off right here. And you want to make sure you pinch these ends, because see those ends? That's where them little roots or the stems or where it was connected to the plant. Just go ahead and get that off. And you want to look over it. Just survey it, look it over, make sure it don't have any like spots or anything that you need to pull off or pluck off. Look how soft that is, y'all. That just comes apart. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put this in my mixing bowl. So I got this in my mixing bowl right there. Ooh, they stick to the pan. And it's alright. You know, you can wash this pan. A little bit of Dawn dishwashing liquid and hot water and soak that up and scrub that up. Now remember, pop them ends off like that. See, get all that goopy stuff right there off, because you don't want that. Let's get it peeled. Let's make sure that there's nothing gross or any knots or anything that we wouldn't want to eat. There's a piece right there that's kind of hard. I'm going to pull that off. There's a little piece right there that's kind of hard. I'm going to pull that off. We're going to get to this end. This end's a little bit tougher to get to, and there's some pieces here that I don't like. And it's so soft, you just squish it off. That's all you do. And then it's done right there. Look how soft that is. And there it goes. Now, the recipe online will tell you that you can use like how many sweet potatoes, 3 or 4. I'm going to go ahead and use all 4, okay? And I know y'all like, you know, a cup of this, a cup of that. You know, we measure with our hearts around here. And even though Granny Lorraine did use some measurements, it was few and far between. So you kind of got to go by memory. Alright, here goes the top. Peel these bad boys off. Look at that. Ooh, kind of satisfying to do that, you know. And you can eat these sweet potatoes just like they are. You ain't even got to put them in no recipe or nothing. You can eat them. Alright, got all them bad parts off. Look at that. Ain't that pretty? And then we're going to put it right there. And let's get this last one over here. And it's kind of fun to feed your chickens and show your chickens like, hey, look, I got y'all some of this. Oh my gosh. I wrap this thing real good. And they walk around with the little beaks all orange and sticky. It's kind of cute. The quail actually like the skin part of it too, so that's nice. And it's like I said, it's good for them and ain't gonna hurt them. They would eat it out in the wild if they had the opportunity. So there you go. Alright, so now we have our spices in here plus the salt. We've got cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and salt. This goes in over here. Just gonna dump it in, that's all. Now I've already got my vanilla in there as well. I'm gonna put ChrissyOshow.com in here. All you gotta do is go to recipes page, go to the tab, and it'll give you all the exact things. I measure with my heart, but I think it's a teaspoon of cinnamon, a half teaspoon of nutmeg, a half a teaspoon of cloves, that kind of thing. So there you go. Now, one of the things that I like to do, if you can show this, is I like to use duck eggs. Duck eggs are ginormous. They're huge. There's a lot of yolk in there, and there's also a lot of egg whites in there. So I like using duck eggs. That's because if it calls for 3 chicken eggs, I don't need that many. I just need 2 duck eggs and it'll do the same thing. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put those duck eggs right in there, just like that. And that's going to be what I do. Next, it's going to be the flour. Okay? So I'm going to put 2.5 cups of flour in there. Alright? So let's do 1 cup in here. And then I'm going to get my 2nd cup. And I'm going to do about half of this. Looks about half, so I'm going to do half. 2.5 cups in there. Now, because sweet potatoes are already sweet, we're still going to add some sweetener to it. Now it's up to you. You can add honey. I've certainly added honey before. Honey's a natural sweetener, perfectly fine, goes great with this recipe. But I'm going to use the granulated sugar for today because that's what I got. I don't have, as you can see, I don't have enough raw honey to use, so I'm just going to use the sugar. It's going to make it, you know, sweet enough for what we need it for. So I'm going to fill this up. Do a full cup of this. And I'm going to do about 1/2 cup. So about 1.5 cups of sugar, because I don't want it ridiculously sweet. And I want everybody to be able to have at least a little cube of it to be able to eat. I'm going to put this in there. Alright. And next thing we're going to get is some heavy cream, because we've got to have some wet to go with this. We're going to do some heavy cream. And I'm going to add a little bit of oil to go with that. So I'll be right back to show you that. Alright, now I've already put about 1/4 cup of oil in there, vegetable oil, whatever you got, you know, use it. I've already got the oil in there. Now we're going to do the heavy cream, about 3/4 cup of heavy cream to go in there. And then we'll manage it. Once we turn this on, we'll manage it and we'll see if it needs a little bit more. You don't want it runny, but you want it the consistency of cake batter. Alright, so let's put this in here. Now that we've got everything together, we're going to turn this on and we're going to start mixing it. Okay, here we go. Now, We're talking about sweet tater bread here. It's an old-fashioned recipe from my granny. This is a very thick batter. It's going to have some lumps and different types of things in it, but all of this will cook. It'll cook out, okay? And it's very dense, so if you don't like a thick type of bread or a thick type of anything, then you'll need to thin this out accordingly, and you can adjust the recipe. Nothing's set in stone. That's one of the good things that I like about learning how to cook like my granny did when she was living. On both of my grannies actually, is you could modify the recipe. Nothing is set in stone. Heck, you know, my pa Arthur, he could barely even read anything beyond a first grade level. And Granny Lorraine, she went to school, but she didn't go to school very far. My other granny, Granny Ludibel, she didn't go to school beyond the 3rd grade. So they didn't have all these fancy measurements and all these things because, quite frankly, they just couldn't do the math or the computations or read. Now, things have changed over centuries and over time and over decades to where we can read and we can understand, and we watch all these really cool fancy shows on YouTube and other channels that just show us measurements and what would be a good appropriate measurement. Well, when you're cooking old-fashioned Eastern North Carolina Southern food, you measure with your heart and then you adjust accordingly as it goes. If it didn't turn out the way you liked it the first time, when you try it again the second time, you'll pretty much know that you added a little too much of this or not enough of that by the taste and by the texture. So we're going to dump this in to a full-lined greased baking dish, and then we're going to bake it until the center is toothpick clean or knife clean, ever how you want to check it, and make sure that it is done in the middle. Alright, so here we go. It's hard to hold too, just to let you know. It's real hard to hold. And it's super heavy. Super heavy and super thick. I tell you what I don't do. I don't give any of this leftovers, which typically there's no leftovers after I make sweet potato bread at my house. Everybody eats it. And I actually give it as little Christmas gifts when you bake it in smaller loaves and things like that to other people because they like it so much. And I've made a mess. Look at that. It's fabulous. Flop that over there. But I don't give this to my chickens because it does have quite a bit of sugar in it. And my chickens are not, they don't eat table scraps and they're not used to eating things like that. My chickens eat better than I do. Matter of fact, all my flock eats better than I do. So you see how thick it is? So you just shake it down and around. That's basically all I'm going to do right there. It's leveled out and evened out just by tapping it and banging it around. That's what I saw Granny doing all those years. Now, we're going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees and we're going to bake it. Every oven is different. Now, I'm going to bake mine for about 35 minutes. If the center is not toothpick clean or knife clean when it comes out, I'm going to bake it for smaller increments, probably about 10 to 15 minute increments, because I don't want to burn it. I don't want to burn it. And it's going to be a beautiful orangey, goldeny color when it comes out. Let it completely cool. We're going to cut it in little cubes. Oh, here's a little thing. Half of my folks like the pecans. You're supposed to put chopped pecans in it. Half of my folks like that. The other half don't. So I've left the pecans out of this for today because I do have somebody in my family who deals with diverticulitis, and I don't want to cause an inflammation or flare-up feeding that to a family member. So let's cook this, let's get it done, and then we'll show you what it looks like when it's fresh out of the oven And then we're going to cube it up and show everybody how dense and yummy and how thick it is. It's a great snack. So let's get it going. Alright y'all, so here we go. We got a cooled off pan of homemade sweet potato bread. Now like I said, you can adjust the recipe. You can put dried cranberries, you can do raisins, you can do nuts, you can adjust the sweetness anyhow you want to. You can use honey. I use sugar because I didn't have enough honey. But it is a very thick, dense bread. It's wonderful for snacks. And what I'm going to do is cut these up into little cubes, because that's all you need. You don't need a big honking slice. And I'll just cut them up into little cubes, and I'll put them on a little plate and douse them with a little bit of powdered sugar, just because we're just extra sweet around here. And there you go. So that's what it looks like. It's sweet enough on its own without the powdered sugar, but you can drizzle it with honey or powdered sugar. We like powdered sugar because that's how I was raised to eat it. So there you go, sweet potato bread. Now, with this being said, thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for subscribing. I've got a ton of playlists out there now. Tons of stuff going on, from greenhouse to the family recipes to the flock, all of it. So let's go feed the babies some snackies, and we'll call it a day. So bye y'all.